All right. Good morning. Aloha for those of you in Hawaii. If there's any people from Hawaii watching, good afternoon for those of you in New York City. And good evening for those of you that may be watching in Europe or Asia. And even we've got one Australian watcher. Must be really in the early morning for you. Welcome to the stream. What a set drop. Lots to talk about today. So much to talk about. I am Laptop Hound. If you're first time viewer of this stream, welcome all in. Haven't had a chance to read off all the followers that are dropping and everything like that. Just so much on the go. And believe me, I'm not a multitasker. I'm not. So thank you guys for those of you that have recently followed or subscribed to the channel. I will shout you out at some point in time. But like I said, good to have you here. Good to have you here after the Hype Man dish with his reveal. We've got, again, lots of cards to talk about, lots of different kind of concepts that I want to go through with this episode. The Thursday stream, I typically, as you can see, stream Thursday, Tuesday, Monday at around this time. And when OOTP came out with their new content release time at noon Eastern, it kind of fell right before when I normally start to stream. So I thought, what an opportunity to talk about the newest cards that are released. And, you know, there are a lot of people that, you know, I like to collaborate with. I'm a collaborator. I like to collaborate with people and bounce things off of and talk about different things. So I thought, well, who is out there that I could talk new releases? Who's the bright minds that are out there that I could talk with? And because like I said, I like to cater to the beginners. And if you're a beginner with OOTP, welcome. This show is going to be for you as well. So I thought, well, okay, who are the best minds to talk cards? And, you know, Aster31, unfortunately, you know, he has a day job. So, you know, he was unavailable. And then, well, what about Snail Man? You know, Snail Man's really good with things. And yeah, no, he's kind of busy too. And well, EVC, you know, he knows a lot about cards, and oh man, no, but he's so busy with his theme teams. It's like, oh, who is it? Who could I reach out to? You know, my mom, no, it's her Costco shopping day. I can't reach out to my mom. Geez. Well, okay, I work down on my list. And finally, I find someone that, hey, I've heard of this guy before. I think he's kind of well known in the community. And so maybe I should bring him in and talk about the newest cards. So I'd like you guys to welcome to the stream, the one, the only, Your Kidneys. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. I feel like that was not a long enough list of the people you could grab before me, but I am very appreciative to be here on this show.
Well, you know, the list, believe me, is longer, but just a fair warning and some disclosure that, you know, I did have Kidney sign a 420-page release before he showed up on the episode today because, you know, when you go live with Kidneys, you know, you're taking your chances. So, you know, things are covered. All the bases are covered, no pun intended. And I think we're ready to give you guys and deliver a great show for you today. So again, welcome into Kidneys 2, the Hawk Report, which stands for Hound's Analysis with Kidneys. Hey, you like that? You like that, Kidneys? Pretty good.
I do like it. It's very snazzy. Very much. There's such a professional vibe to this setup in this stream and doing prep work again that the only person who's been able to make me do that ever was DRC. So I feel back. I'm in the zone. I'm excited to get back into some cards, talk some out of the park, more formal setting for all of this. So be fun.
Yeah, and it took me a while to come up with a moniker because I like acronyms, and I think acronyms, rather than me saying the Hound Report with Kidneys all the time, Hawk just sounds a little bit cooler. And, you know, my first one was Card Analysis with Kidneys, but this is a family-oriented show, so we couldn't, you know, go with that one right there. All right, let's continue on, guys, and enjoy today's show. Like I said, so much to talk about, but first, just a little bit of, a little bit about OOTP, because, like I said, I like to cater to the new people, and I'm sure of the 150 plus people that are here, some of you are new. And I was new at one time, Kidneys was new at one time, and it can become really overwhelming on getting involved with Perfect Team. And this show is for you as well. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out the OOTP development website. I'll put the link in the chat there, where you can find it is the best place to get involved with OOTP as a beginner. On there, you can find all the different links. If you're new and haven't purchased the game, hey, you've got, what is it, Kidneys, 24 hours left to get the discount, 10% discount.
And I think a bonus gold pack for signing up in the first week if you're new to Perfect Team.
Hey, good point. Still get that bonus gold pack. You can get it on Steam. You can get it on the PC, the Mac. You can even get the hockey bundle with OOTP if you're a fan of hockey. They got a great simulation hockey game. A few years behind the OOTP, but it's catching up really quickly, and that's the Franchise Hockey Manager. So go check that out on the main site. And not only that, but there is a huge, vast amount of information that you can research, you can ask questions, you can get technical support, all of that right within the ootpdevelopment.com website. And even if you drive a lot and you're looking for something to listen to, if you scroll to the very bottom, OOTP has their very own podcast. Yeah, they have a podcast that they put out. Rich Grisham, the man behind the scenes that has been streaming his Perfect Team 24 lately. He is the man behind the podcast, and you can catch him every week or two. There's a new podcast that's put out. I'm anticipating a new one coming out very, very soon. And yes, you will have a chance to win some of those hopefully lucky packs at the end of the stream. With my streams, OOTP has been generous and allowed me to give out 15 packs, which I divide up amongst two different users that enter. So hang on, don't go anywhere. That will come up towards the end of the stream. All right, introductions out of the way again. Welcome to everyone that has joined us. See some of you using the little exclamation mark weather. Yes, I am kind of a little bit of a weatherman, a meteorologist on my stream sometimes. And one thing I like to do too is to tag any kind of subscribers, users that I focus on from time to time, and I put them on the old Google map. And of course, we have Andy from Sheffield in England. We have people from the East Coast, people from the West Coast, few from Europe as well. So it's great to see you. Just looking on my viewer geolocation, we've got Australia, we've got Canada, we've got Switzerland, we've got even one from the Netherlands, and of course, main viewership, USA. Still practicing the chant. You guys have taught me the chanting. In Canada, we go Canada, go Canada. But apparently you guys just like things short and sweet. USA. And
3-syllable chants are so great. They're so easy.
Yeah, and we won't talk about the World Baseball Championship and the USA there. Although Tetsuiji might be a little bit more happy about that. He's probably still recovering from the celebration from Japan's victory. And follow Tetsuiji out as well, fellow Canadian, along with Nersha Benko. I think there's 3 of us that stream from Canada. So many great streamers, right? Your Kidneys?
Exto, whose stream I was on this morning, who's also an affiliate, one of the Nerds United Follow Durden guys, also has drops on his own channel. He's a Canadian as well. And of course, okay. Snaggle J's also, I think he's affiliated this year still. He has drops. Of course, a Canadian, as we all know, Mr. Jardine. So,
yeah. So I'll put a few of those in the channel for right now. Again, lots of cool streamers out there. I don't want to name them because I'm sure I'm going to miss any, and that would I don't want to miss any. So yeah, we have Kidneys here, and of course we got to do the whole map here with Kidneys. And Kidneys, if you don't know, is on the other side of North America. There, kind of in the Connecticut area, and I'm just glad that I could get Kidneys away from the Haven Hot Chicken, where you can find him playing Marvel Snap. So yeah, he was
Oh
kind
man,
enough. He was
love me
kind
some
enough
Marvel
to.
Snap.
I don't know if you go to Haven Hot Chicken, but I just thought that was a cool name in your area.
So in New Haven, what we're very famous for is our pizza. My family's Italian, and when I visited Italy at the end of high school, the people in Rome were actually asking us about the pizza in New Haven because they had heard of it and how good it was. So that's a little flex of mine there. It's very good.
Well, flex the other arm too. Shout out a pizza place. What would you recommend in the New Haven area?
It's Sally's of Pete's. You can see Sally's and Pepe's there. Those are probably the two most famous ones. There's a few others like Modern that's really good as well. But I'm a Sally's guy, so got to zoom in as an exact address. I'm not exactly in the middle of New Haven, living in Sally's, guys. But
well, now you got me hungry here, Kidneys. It looks delicious.
It is so good. It is probably the best pizza I've ever had. And if y'all listing Papa John's and Domino's, I'm only a quarter Italian, but man, go get some real pizza. Like, there's so many pizza places everywhere, especially in the Northeast. Like, there is no reason to go order Domino's or Papa John's unless you're like a college student, right? Oh.
All right. Well, I told Kidneys I was going to ask him a weird question kind of towards the beginning of the broadcast. So here's your weird question. You've just finished coming off an 8-hour Tranquil Farms marathon stream, and you're extremely hungry, and it's just like, I just got to have something, and the doorbell rings. And lo and behold, you go to the door and someone has generously delivered you a couple pizza pies from your favorite place, Sally's. What's on the pizza? What's your dream pizza?
I like so many different kinds of pizzas. I'm gonna go with 3 different pizzas here. The first one, probably my classic, is meatball and mushroom. I think a lot of people are probably familiar with sausage and mushroom pizzas. Meatball is a more Italian spin on pizza than like the kind of sausage you'll find at things in America. I like it a bit better. Probably a second one is pepperoni and hot honey is fantastic. If you've never had hot honey and pepperoni pizza, you should try it. And the third one, I'll do a very weird, very American one, mashed potato pizza. So really, instead of sauce, it's like a layer of mashed potatoes with cheese and bacon on top. It's very good. So,
and I rock this as what? No kidney beans on your pizza? Like, what's up with that?
To be fair, I have like a million food allergies. So kidney beans are on the list of no can do's for your kidneys.
All right. And, being from Canada, we have our, Canadian back bacon, and one of the most popular pizzas here, I don't know if it is in the US, is ham and pepperoni or ham and pineapple. What is your take on that? Pineapple on pizza.
I think it's really good with one condition, right? I actually learned recently that originated in Canada, I believe, post World War II. It's a fun story about it. But you have to roast the pineapple in the oven on the pizza. A lot of places just put the pineapple on the pizza after the fact. It's much, much worse. You got to roast the pineapple on the Hawaiian pizza. That's my caveat with it. But I do like it, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that we do here. We have the pineapple already on the pizza. It goes in the oven. It's a controversial topic across the world with pineapple on pizza. All right, as you know, Kidneys has streamed his own Twitch channel. He's been on within many other people as well. And DRC was a famous broadcast that he had. What was that? A year ago? 2 years ago?
It's been about a year now. No, it's been about 2 years now, hasn't it? It's been a long time since I was with the bald man from Chicago. Shout out to DRC. Love that guy.
Yes. And you had I've heard rumors of a boomer zoomer and those kind of things. And I just want to be transparent. I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. So all Gen Xers out there. All right. And yeah, Kidneys might be a boomer. And just so the audience knows that, there are some differences, between the age gap between Kidney and I, and how we talk and how we, interpret things. And, Kidney grew up in a time where, Phineas and Ferb and Ben 10 were the
Yep.
shows to watch. Where I'm the Flintstones and Yosemite Sam. That
I was
was
gonna
kind of
say
my.
I watched a lot of retro cartoons go up, so I'm very familiar with Yosemite Sam. I love the Looney Tunes, love Tom and Jerry. So
Yeah,
yeah.
excellent. Good. Yeah, Tom and Jerry. Yeah, you told me about that as well.
Hmm.
In terms of, our love of video games, Kidneys grew up with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the
Yep.
Nintendo Cube. And I
Yep.
grew up with Atari 2600, the Commodore and Frogger the arcade. When pumping those quarters in the arcade one after each other, and Dragon's Lair was the one that had the best graphics at the arcade, and the pinball machines. And boy, I miss those times going to a classic arcade. And even in my favorite beverage, you guys know I like the coffee. By the way, today a gingerbread blend with maple syrup,
Ooh.
butterscotch coffee flavoring, and some vanilla coffee creamer. Yes, that is the
Ooh.
coffee of today. Kidneys grew up probably in a household with coffee makers that look like that, if you didn't put the filters in properly, they would leak all over the place. I grew up with Mr. Coffee makers in my home, which were a little sturdier, more reliable. And now I don't know what the newest generation is, but you guys got the pods, you got the K pods, you got the
Do have
Keurigs,
the
and
pods. Yep.
yeah, got the pods, or you just walk across the street and go to your nearest Starbucks. So one thing that Kidneys and I do have in common, I have to say, even though there's a generation gap, Kidneys and I both love certain movies, and one of those movies that we like is Star Wars. Right, Kidneys? Big Star Wars
Hmm.
fan?
I am a huge. Oh my gosh, that is. I am kind of doing a bit of a Chewbacca right now, huh? That's a terrifying image. I'm very pleased with it. No, I'm
Well,
a huge Star Wars nerd. I remember one time I was really little and I was really sick and I couldn't do anything, and so my parents gave me a few options of movies to watch. One of them was Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, and that got me very locked in very fast. Started getting all the Star Wars Legos, watched all the movies. Was too young to see episode 3 in theaters when it came out. So, as much as you guys may not like the sequels, for me, that was my first time going and seeing a Star Wars like when it came out in theaters. And I think it was an awesome experience. I really do. It was a great time. So,
yeah, it was probably the first movie I remember seeing as a kid. Back in the day when your parents would just you let you have all this independence, right? You would, I was like 8 years old when it came out, or 9 years old, and
mhm.
my mom would give me a few bucks, and I'd walk to the movie theater blocks and blocks away on my own, like as an 8 or 9 year old kid, and just sit in the movie theater and watch Star Wars. And yeah, definitely one of the best movies of all time. So yeah, when you said you played Star Wars Battlefront and you watched Clone Wars, I figure I had to put a picture together. And I did one earlier in the stream with EVC and Gorgo. Gorgo is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and EVC is as Han Solo. So I thought, you know what? I think Kidneys would make a good Chewbacca.
That's really awesome. I quite enjoy that. Yeah, Clone Wars was every Friday night. It was me and my dad would sit down and we'd watch it, and then the next day I'd call up on the phone and talk with all my friends about the episode. It was a great time. It really was.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get on. We do have some content that we have to cover. And before we get to today's drops and content, let's talk. Let's kind of put the lid on the OOTP 23. That maybe some of the viewers are still playing and still enjoying. I still set my lineups and open some packs. For you, Kidneys, what would you say is the tagline, the epitaph, the sentence that best puts together your experience with OOTP 23?
I don't know if it's necessarily my personal experience, but I'm pretty involved in the community, hang around with a lot of people, talk with a lot of people, very competitive in the community. And I think the leaderboards would be like, if I have to talk about something in 23 that was vastly different than 22, it would be the leaderboards, right? The competition between tournaments, really like, being at the top of the table, being able to say this guy is the best tournament player of the past week or month, or winning that crazy tournament and getting that hopeful few million point card, right? Or at least a million point card. So I think the leaderboards really, in some ways, they made League very different. But for a lot of people, it really revamped that experience of Out of the Park and the competition you can have in this game. So I think that, for me, would be the big punch of Out of the Park 23.
Yeah, I agree, and also the card shop again, and just the competition. For me, it's an important version of the game. I've played since OOTP 10, so a long time ago. But I know there's people that have had it right from the first incarnation of it. And for me, because I started streaming with OOTP 23, it's always going to have that special place for me because it really got me involved with the community, with you, with other affiliates, with some of the people that watch. So yeah, it's always going to be a special version, OOTP 23.
Yep.
All right. Now we get on to, can you believe it's been less than a week since this came out? Doesn't it seem like it's been out for a long time?
In some ways, I feel like I've been playing this game for years already. In others, like, I still know so little compared to like how much I think I understood the game at the end of 23, right? And like there's a lot of very different things that I think, maybe intentionally so, were made a lot harder to evaluate and are going to take a lot more time and a lot more effort for most people, very much so myself, to come up with, answers and solutions and why questions. So
okay. And one other question I meant to ask you for OTP 23, going back to that, kidnies, is sometimes versions and perfect team versions, we have memorable cards that are going to stick with us, that either were interesting or personal favorites, or we used on our team that were successful. Give me a couple of your favorite cards from Perfect Team 23.
Joey Votto, for sure. If anybody's listened to me over the past 2 months, you knew I was going to say Joey Votto is one of my favorite cards. A card that kind of got released, I think the same set as Yaz, or maybe the set before. A lot of people glossed over him. I think probably like 95% of people should have played him on their team, and he was like a 30K card at one point before he climbed back up. Super strong card. One of the most fun players in all of baseball. Absolutely hilarious guy. If you're unfamiliar with Joey Votto's social media game, you should follow him everywhere. Another one is the Cooperstown Club 5 topper, George Brett. Because I think specifically that was a big turning point for me, where I was able to say this card is really good and this is why. And I think popular sentiment at the time was pretty much it was not a very good card. Like, yeah, it hit righties, but it was too splitty and it didn't have enough defense. And it turned out to be the third based option. So I was pretty proud of myself with that. And lastly, shout out to my boy Jardine. He finally, after 2.5 years of me asking, gave me a Kevin Kiermaier card for the single greatest outfield defense season of all time. And it was in the live reward missions, and it was a great card to start the game. So I was very proud of that one too.
For me, as those that have watched my stream before, I rave. There's a couple that I rave about. First of all, Hank Aaron being so versatile for pretty much the whole cycle, for many teams, all the way up even to perfect. Maybe there was some perfect teams at the very end, having him on his bench, maybe. So on their bench. So Hank Aaron will be a memorable card. First kind of live topper mission card that came out. And I like cards that you can get early and still have some value later on.
Mm-hmm.
The other was the silver George Kell that I played all the way up through Diamond on my Blue Jay team. He played fantastic. I think his career batting average, mainly in Diamond for the cycle, was about 285. For a silver card to hit 285 at the Diamond level consistently, I really enjoyed that card. And of course, Oscar Charleston. We have to talk about Oscar Charleston.
Yes.
Great card. Could play everywhere in the outfield. You trained him up. Really good value. Up until maybe the last few card releases, he could be a starter all the way up to perfect team. So any comment on any of those three?
Specifically for me, Charleston, if I had to name like the most valuable card of the cycle, it was absolutely Oscar Charleston in my eyes. I think probably up until the Yaz came out, like he was a no-brainer. You should have still been playing him. Still could steal bases, top-tier defense, solid contact bat. What an incredible card that was. That was a great card. Love that card.
Okay. So going back to OOTP 24, it's been less than a week. We played the beta a little bit. Give me some early impressions. Give me maybe one or two early impressions of the game so far compared to the previous version.
I think this year to me is really shaping up to be a year of growth. There's kind of a discussion in tournament talk in the main Discord today that really caught my eye, which was, you know, there's going to be a lot of adapting this year because really the format's playing very different in tournaments, right? There's a lot of people that did play these quick tournaments all the time, and they're just very, very different setup than before. And I think that um, it may end up being a good thing for the game, right? That these people, it's much more beneficial for them to get in on like it's my first time really playing dailies and weeklies, and I've been having a blast with it. And I think if this pushes people in that direction in a way that they can still play competitively in that direction, it's a really good thing for the game. So I'm kind of excited if that balance can be struck. It'll be really, really cool going forward. So
Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of new people come into the game in the last week just by watching, some of the affiliates and seeing some of the comments in the chat, some first time users. And if you are new, remember that you can get free packs in the form of drops. And I'll leave the link in the chat here how you can do that. So you can go and you can connect your Twitch account to your OOTP account. Very easy, takes a few minutes to do, and you can get some free packs. And if you need some extra help, you need some visual aids, AZ Axel has put together a short little tutorial. The link is in the chat there. Go watch that. It's about 5 minutes long, and that will guide you through and how to get your drops for OOTP 24. You will get separate drops from affiliates compared to the OOTP development team. And you can get up to 10 packs a day. And in those 10 packs, you might pull that perfect card that leads your team to greatness. Right, Kidneys? Have you pulled any great perfect cards so far in this version?
I pulled what I consider to be probably the best pitcher in the game at the moment on day 2. I pulled Addy Joss. Sold it probably even for too little. I love that comment shows up on the stream. Thank you for that. That's great. Addy Joss is really good. I like quite fond of that card already. I may get it back at some point. We'll see. So I was very pleased with that one. I think if I could have picked any card to get out of packs, it would have been that one. So very happy to have that happen.
And as I've talked beforehand with Kidneys approaching today's stream, one thing I want to do is make sure that new people to the game have some stepping stones. We lead them along the way because, like I said, I was a beginner at once and I was overwhelmed when Perfect Team came out. I looked at the name on the card, not necessarily the ratings on the card. And I quickly learned that a name player in Iron doesn't mean he's going to be the same as he was in real life. So Kidneys has agreed to kind of go through a few beginner steps. And maybe one of the early ones is mistakes. Beginners make mistakes all the time, and it's a great way to learn. But what have you seen is probably the biggest mistake that beginners have made as they go into Perfect Team?
The number one is very simple. It's probably that you look at ratings that don't really do it, or number that doesn't really do anything, right? So there's 3 of them, right? And a lot of people put a lot of value on these numbers. There's very limited use for them. The first is most importantly the overall rating. When a card is like in the engine and it's playing other cards as the sim is happening, that overall rating has no impact on what the card actually does, right? So you want to throw that out the window. The only time it's important is in cap tournaments and in tournaments that are like card restricted, right? So if you can only play bronze and below, obviously you can only look at bronze cards. But not all bronze cards are equal. Not all iron cards are equal. There are iron cards better than bronze cards, and bronze cards better than iron cards, and every which way around, right? The other 2 ratings, kind of not to look at, are contact and movement. As of right now, they have a representation, right? So contact is supposed to represent a card's ability for batting average, but it's not run in the engine, right? So like contact does not determine batting average. It's the pieces that make up contact, but all those pieces are now on the card. So looking at a card, don't look at the contact rating. Looking at a pitcher, don't look at the movement rating. The movement is just a mesh of the home run and the pitcher BABIP, which is new this year. The home run rating is what old movement did if you've played previous games, right? Also, batting average is meaningless. That's an excellent point, Mr. Snowman. Yes. So
Yeah. All right. And okay, so one comment I saw is that burnout, especially with new people, can be a factor as well. You get so wrapped up, you get so involved, you spend so many early hours on, and because you don't understand the process behind it, and the way that the game engine works, you don't find success early. And when you don't find success early, and you put all this time in, a lot of times you give up. And maybe we can give a couple little hints, and one of those might be with the new ballparks that are added. Is there anything, should a beginner start with, should they pick a ballpark and then create a team around that ballpark, or should they take the cards that they have and find a ballpark that best suits them? How would you go about that?
if I'm very new and I'm not playing like a theme, right? So some people are new, they just want to play the Red Sox, right? I want Fenway Park, and that's what I'm going to do, right? If I'm trying to win, right? I want to win. Normally, what I'll do is I'll look at either like my one or two best cards or one or two cards that I think are good that maybe not other people are playing, and I want to include those with my good cards, right? Then I'll kind of pick a ballpark based on the few cards I've selected, and then I'll kind of craft the team around that. You don't have to lean too far into it. That's probably something more at an advanced level. Honestly, if you're a brand new player, I would probably just not touch the ballpark, or set it, if you have PT plus, set it to I think Colorado Field is better than Coors Field. Just the most offensive one. Make some perfect points off of it. Your pitchers will look a little worse, but you'll make a little bit more money that way.
Excellent advice. Yeah. It is going to be interesting with all these ballparks out now that you just don't simply lefty cheese, righty cheese, or somewhere in between. And looking at the ballparks, it does add a whole new dimension to the game. It will be interesting to see when we get up to perfect level how managers orchestrate their team around these ballparks. Any guesses how we might see that play out?
I don't really have a guess yet. It's very interesting because it's so dependent too on the card pool, right? As well, because you got to match them. The thing that I did notice, there is not a ballpark that has lefty BABIP far higher than righty BABIP. And the most common ballpark in perfect team history across every perfect team has been lefty contact up, righty contact down, right? And there is not there. I mean, there's a few with little gaps, but there isn't this massive, 1.1 to 0.9 gap that we've been able to do in every perfect team up until now. So I think that's going to force the meta to play out a little bit differently than it has in previous versions. So.
All right, well, let's get into the last kind of part with the beginners here, and that is a little bit of basic card analysis. When they, get a card and it's a 70, and they're going, well, that's not a good card because it's not 80, it's not 90, it's not 100. However, one thing that beginners need to learn how to analyze is the different specific ratings on the card. And one of them that you talked about was the pitcher BABIP. Maybe explain a little bit at a beginner understanding, what do you mean by pitcher BABIP?
So when we say BABIP, if you're newer to baseball, because I know some people are too playing this game, which hats off to you. That's a very hard thing to play this game and be new to baseball. BABIP is when a ball is hit in play. It is like the percentage of time the runner successfully gets on base and it's not an out, right? So historically, some pitchers, based on how they throw their pitches, when batter makes contact and the ball is in play, it goes for a hit less or more, depending on things like how hard the pitch is thrown, how much movement is on it, things like that, right? So Out of the Park this year has added this pitcher BABIP rating to kind of more accurately reflect pitchers like Nolan Ryan, who even when people put the bat on the ball, they didn't get on base anyway, right? So I think right now it's kind of there's a lot of big talk about it because it seems to be extremely strong in tournaments. Some people think it's a bug. Some people think the meta just needs to settle. Um, there's also there's a lot of stats pointing to it's probably a little too powerful right now compared to what it should be historically. So I think it's one of the ratings that when I am looking for a pitcher right now, like today, tomorrow, or whatever, I am prioritizing that rating over some of the others. I will say on that note, a lot of people who are new to the game, when they start it, they say, "We'll rank the ratings, right? Like, what do I look for first? What do I look for second?" It's really a lot more complex than that because a void K is important on a hitter with BABIP because it prevents him from striking out before he can hit the ball. But a power hitter can actually hit a home run at the same time that he strikes out. So a void K does not matter as much on a hitter that just hits home runs, right? So ratings are really relative. And just to say one is better than the other doesn't really work. There are different profiles that do different things that mesh together, right?
Okay. One question, because I started off creating YouTube videos and again, a lot of beginner videos, little tutorials to help new people out. And one comment I got on a recent video, maybe you could address, because again, I'm not overly familiar with pitcher BABIP. I don't profess to be anywhere near an expert on different ratings. I'm not sure if you can see that. Says, not sure how the game engine actually processes it, but the pitcher BABIP rating should theoretically be more important when paired with lower stuff and less important with higher stuff. Similar to hitters with their BABIP and avoid K ratings. More strikeouts equal fewer chances for BABIP to have an effect. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. So that's piggybacking off even what I just explained. Great timing. So if it works the way it's done in pretty much every out of the park previously, um, a pitcher will have the chance to strike out a hitter before he hits the ball in play. Reminder, a home run is not a ball in play. It's over the fence, right? Um, but so if the pitcher has low stuff, therefore less strikeouts, having a higher pitcher BABIP will be more important because they're going to have balls in play more often, but less of those balls in play will be hits, right? It's the exact opposite of the thing I just talked about, which is that you want a void K on a hitter with BABIP, right? It's the reverse because it's a pitcher. So,
all right. Well, let's look at a couple of specific cards then for, again, to help beginners out. We got the Blue Moon Odom card, and then we'll look at a hitter card as well. So again, first time I've opened up all my packs. I get this card here. Immediately, I think it's probably not great because it's a 70. How would you convince a beginner that this is a card they should be playing?
well, I would think, if you're a beginner, this is a pretty strong card in my opinion too. But also the fact that you have to when a card has a tier, right? So we have iron, bronze, silver, gold, diamond, perfect. There are tournaments. Tournaments is how you get your income, how you get more cards without just spending money, right? You have to really evaluate cards in their tier or above, right? And this card for a silver pitcher is a really good silver pitcher, right? The most important things I'm looking at a card right now are that home run rating, which of course is the anti-home run rating for a pitcher. There's a lot of cards. People are playing a lot of big power bats right now. I want to stop them from hitting home runs. Again, like I said earlier, pitcher BABIP seems to be really strong. And then you can't have everything. So on pretty much every card we're looking at, we're going to have to pick stuff or control. Maybe some perfects have it all. Not a lot of them do. I will say 95 pitcher BABIP is an extraordinarily high number, right? 95 home run is actually a little less than what I want, but that pitcher BABIP is so high that I do think this is a pretty strong card. So,
all right. And when we look at a hitter card, just randomly picked one here, Jimmy Fox, again, one of the great all-time players. This card only an 83. Of course, we've seen perfect cards with him a lot higher. As a new player looking at the batting ratings, how would you suggest they go about some basic analysis?
yeah, so this is a pretty well-rounded card. Things you really want to look at. So when I have a card with BABIP, I'm going to check how high the avoid Ks are and how the gap power is, right? Because those are kind of amplifiers all off each other, right? Because BABIP, is how often when you hit the ball, it goes for a hit. Avoid K is just almost how often do you hit the ball other than a home run. Gap is when you hit the ball, like, are you getting a double, right? So those things together, this card is pretty well statted for a gold card. And again, you really want cards that are good within their tiers. Some are better above, but if it's a gold card is good compared to other gold cards, it's a valuable card. This card has very high I. It's pretty split neutral, which means against a righty starter or a lefty starter, it'll be good either against either of them. The nice part about this card is the flexibility. In certain teams, I've actually run this card as a backup third baseman and a backup catcher because he has a decent catcher rating. And if it's a cap, then I can save points elsewhere, right? So it's a fun card. I really do like this card quite a bit, actually. Yes.
Oh, wow. And yeah, we didn't plan on the specific cards that I was going to show. So it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Wildcat Bandit asked the question too, that so on a pitcher card, the higher the home run, the higher the pitcher BABIP, the better it is for that statistic.
Yeah, it's a bit aptly named. I've seen several people be a little confused about that. If you played previous Out of the Parks, the new home run rating is exactly what Movement did last year. It's the exact same thing. What Movement does this year is absolutely nothing. Nothing gets calculated off Movement this year, right? So you just want to look at the home run rating to prevent home runs. Higher is better. And the pitcher BABIP rating to prevent balls that are hit in play from becoming hits, right?
So pitcher ballpark, definitely these pitchers are going to be an asset for you.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Well, good. So I hope the beginners, picked up a few pointers there. If you do have questions, guys, please put them in the chat about, OOTP perfect team. We'll get to kind of a question period later in case I miss some of them during the way. Let's get on to today's content, Kidney, because we're always excited for that first content release. So I'm going to start with, a card that near and dear to my heart, near and dear to Tetsuiji Nersha Banko's heart, Blue Jay fans through and through, and that is the 65 rated Jimmy Key. This is one card that, again, name recognition doesn't always mean success in Perfect Team. Mm-hmm. You've got to look at many different things. So go through the Jimmy Key card.
There's a few things I do really like about this card, right? 84 stamina is a solid number. Normally, the lower rated cards have lower stamina numbers, right? 84 is pretty passable. It's probably like above average, at average. Sometimes when a card is a lower stamina, you have to pitch count it to a lower amount, or it won't be able to start again when it's ready to. That's a really important thing to be aware of. Hold runners is good. Contrary to all the memes, hold runners are a really important stat. I like seeing a high number, especially early in this season where people are probably still trying to steal when they shouldn't be. The control on it's very high. 80's very high right now in the meta, which is a good thing. So control is the anti-walk rating. The ratings are very simplistic in this game, right? Control is literally how many times does the opponent walk against you. 80 is a good number for a bronze card. The pitcher BABIP, we talked about Blue Moon had a high 95. This card's a high 90. It's pretty solid there. The part where I differ a little bit on this card and I kind of struggle with it is the 65 home run is pretty low. To the point where I would probably personally not play this if I'm playing bronze and I have all the cards. But it's the pitcher BABIP and the control combo is very, very interesting to me. I think there is a world where this is a good card. I'd be very scared of it playing it right now with all the very high power hitters. 50 stuff it's probably a little below average on bronze, but again, with these lower tier cards, you're probably picking one of stuff or control, and this card has great control. So
excellent. So like I said, I want to start with my home team card. By the way, speaking of cards, who are the Blue Jays playing today? The Cards. Hey, you see that? You see that? Yeah. Kind of a weird interleague start to the season with the Blue Jays against St. Louis. And I have to admit that I don't know many St. Louis. I haven't come across many St. Louis Cardinal fans through OOTP. I don't know. Do you know any big-time St. Louis Cardinal fans?
I know a handful. There was a guy who used to play Perfect Team who I think just plays the base game now by the name of Sebastian, who makes some great Discord memes, who's a huge card fan. There's some people in the Out of the Park Discord who almost just talk in the Major League Baseball channel that's down there that are big Cardinals fans. So yeah, Leona's one of them. Yeah, there's definitely quite a few out there. I think they have one of the larger baseball fan bases, if I remember correctly. I also saw a thing recently of people ranking the most unpopular baseball fan groups, and I think they were number 3. St. Louis fans are very, very passionate about their team. So
All right. Well, kidneys, we are heading up onto our first kind of big break here. So we're going to give you a chance to breathe a little bit, go get a coffee, go get some water, go to the washroom, and then we'll dig a lot deeper into the cards, including the new LE card, the Bob Feller card that came out. So I'll leave this on the screen during the break. This is a set of baseball cards that you may look at and go, hey, there's something weird about some of these players and the cards. So those of you that are big time baseball knowledgeable fans, see if you can spot the weirdness in some of these cards. We will be right back after this 3-minute break, guys. Go get what you need done. We'll see you in just a little bit. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we'll be back in a sec. All right, welcome back in. Hope you guys are pumped about the beginning of the baseball season. Already seeing some reports coming in. Adley first at bat, home run off Kluber. Thank you, Mr. Ree. Again, Mr. Ree from the Baltimore area. And thanks for those of you that are tuning in after DishNet's release of the cards today. Thanks for the new followers. Hole 1 Polycarp. We've got Bow 5. We've got Reggie Beebe. We've got a whole bunch of others that I'll shout out more towards the end of the stream. So, kidneys, one task I gave was, do you spot anything weird about any of these player cards? I'm going to ask you what you think.
oh man, I'm sure it's quite obvious, and chat has not answered it yet.
Or just nothing like not an error or anything like that, but weird considering the player.
Weird considering the player.
Like Nolan Ryan. Do you see him as a New York Met?
Oh no, I do not. That was the one thing that stuck out to me, for sure.
Yeah.
But
And Steve Garvey, primary position, kind of third base early in his career.
yeah,
Kind of a little bit strange. Or Pete Rose, as an outfielder, where most of the time we see him kind of as a second baseman. So, were you ever a big baseball card collector?
I have a lot of baseball cards, both from growing up as a kid, like 2008, 2000 through 2010, I think, and then kind of all over the place. And then recently, I met with a former Out of the Park Perfect Team player who gave me a pretty awesome collection. That was very kind of him. He was going to get rid of it. So
It's cool that EVC and NYC too says that, hey, I have that Steve Garvey rookie card and the Nolan Ryan card, and we got the Braves card here with Hank Aaron, and then he signed it Henry Aaron. Of course, it's Hammer and Hank, Henry Aaron. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, if we could go back in time, right, and get some of these packs and have them in our collection.
It'd be very cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back on to the card report and the big LE card. And one of the comments I've seen a lot about this card, kidneys, is the fact that it is great card art as always, right? OOTP over the last few years has given us some of the best card art, just blown our minds. The Platinum series, this series. What do you think about the limited edition card art?
I liked what somebody said in my Discord yesterday when this was revealed, which was the very Stranger Things vibe to it. I think that's very accurate. I wonder if I'm very curious if they're all red colored or if this is because it's a Cleveland card. Maybe the others will represent their team's colors as well. Either way, it looks incredible. Very pleased with this. I think his name is Daniel Wallner, as the artist at Out of the Park. Does an incredible job as always. Yeah, this card looks great.
Yeah. big shout out to the art department. One of the best parts of Perfect Team is the new card art that comes out. All right, Bob Feller, limited edition to 25, I believe, right, Kidney?
Yes, it's a 25.
25. Now, again, as kind of a not a beginner, but intermediate kind of player, I look at this card and go, wow, really good stuff. Following kind of what you said, ignore the movement, kind of look at the home run, the pitcher BABIP. Don't get, distracted by the movement number. And then we see the control, really good stamina, extreme fly ball. So maybe, home runs might be a little bit of an issue. And obviously better against the road bats. What's your take on the Ball Feller card?
I think it's really good. So most of the time, if some of you are familiar with me, when I'm saying what I'm presenting as like my opinion, I have a spreadsheet and a bunch of math behind the scenes doing it. They changed a lot with how the game works this year, specifically the whole pitcher BABIP interaction. I'm a long way away from being able to like tell you, Bob Feller is exactly the fourth best pitcher in the game right now in my settings, right? That kind of a thing. I think my eyeball test on this card is far, far better than I've seen a lot of people give it credit for. Specifically because I think some of its attributes are really strong early on in the cycle. It's by far the biggest stuff pitcher that I would actually consider playing, which is good. I do want to note on the extreme fly ball part, from my understanding, that is for balls that stay in the ballpark. It will not affect the home run rate of the card. I know a lot of people talk about fly ball, ground ball changing the home run scape. I don't think it really does that. I'm pretty sure it's just for balls that are hit in play, actually. But this card is pretty much everything you'd want. It's a little splitty. Pretty much the 10 home run split is the biggest drawback on this card, where, again, lefty hitters are historically better versus right-handed pitchers. So when he comes to the mound, most of the time, once teams are a little bit more sorted out, right, you're going to notice that he's going to face a lot more left-handed hitting. So really, when I'm looking at a righty pitcher, I'm really diving into these verse left ratings, right? Especially more as the game progresses and that becomes more commonplace and people aren't just playing what they have at the moment. I think it's good. The one obvious thing with the card is it does have low control for a perfect card. What this means is very likely we'll get, a few better perfect pitchers, or, diamond pitchers even, that are better than this card. He will transition to the bullpen. There's some good and some bad about this, right? Because his control is so low, he'll probably transition to the bullpen a little faster than some other cards with higher control will. However, because of the shape of the card, and the really high stuff, the most likely he will do much better in the bullpen. So Out of the Park has this thing. It's hidden from us in Perfect Team for some reason. It's fine in the base game. When you move a starter to the bullpen, it weights more heavily their top pitches. Now, pitches are a big deal in Out of the Park. A lot of people make the mistake of looking at the pitches. They don't really do anything special. Whatever the pitches are kind of impacting is really the stuff rating, which is reflected up here at the top of the screen, right? So when you're looking at these pitches, all right, you should just be looking at the stuff rating. The only part where it's important is converting a starter to a reliever. More weight will be focused on those top two pitches because of how relievers work in real baseball, and they need less pitches to succeed. And this card will probably strike out even more players than it looks like he would in the bullpen because of that. So I see this as being a very good bullpen card for a very long time, and right now it is one of, if not the best starter you can play.
But what you're saying, at some point in time, this will probably be a really high-end bullpen guy.
Yes. For sure. Almost all starters, when they run out of their time being a starter, they get moved to the bullpen. It's just the nature of Perfect Team and cycling cards and how that kind of works out, because almost every starter is a little bit better in the pen, right? Most of the time, you're just taking a guy out of your rotation, you're putting him in the bullpen. Yeah, I think, I just think his lifetime in the pen will be a lot longer than other similar cards out right now that may have a longer life in the rotation, right? If that makes some sense. So.
All right. And I saw New Zealand Break posting a question. What does the diagonal line on the bottom right signify? I'm not sure. Beside his name, maybe that's just part of the design. I don't think it has any kind of significant factor.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. Maybe it's some secret message from Daniel Wallner trying to contact us.
Little Easter eggs, yes.
Little
All right.
Easter eggs. I would love that if that was the case. I'd be very happy. That's totally up my thing.
That would be cool if we get or if they could put the number on there, right? As someone just mentioned, 1 out of 25 or 2 out of 25.
That would be very cool. That'd be very different. Also, I do want to note, if you're curious how many of these cards are still in packs, you can export the card database this year from the card shop, and it tells you how many are left in packs this year. So you don't have to Ash Discs or Nico this year. You just have to export the card database, scroll all the way over to the right, find Bob Feller, and it'll tell you how many are left. So
maybe when we do the sharing of the screen a little bit later, we can do that quickly and show people.
yeah, I will absolutely open up the card database and show off. There's a few new things in it, which I think are really good they added. So I'm very pleased with the updates to that. So.
All right. Yeah. As Curly mentioned, that's the average launch angle of the pitches in play. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, let's get on to, again, some of the cards. We've got about 6 or 7 guys that we're going to go through and have Kidneys analyze a little bit, whether they're good in bronze tourneys. And I have to admit, one of the big changes I've noticed is in tournaments, the iron, the ace of iron, ace of bronze. I know a lot of people are upset that those have disappeared and we have the new ones. However, the new ones do fire off really quickly. My biggest frustration is they fill up so quickly, you get to that full, it says full, and then you have to wait. You have to wait until the new one generates. And then it seems every time I go to enter a bronze tournament, it's full and I have to wait like 30 seconds before it generates the next one. So it'd be nice if they had 2 of those exact same tournaments running kind of concurrently, so you'd never get that full option all the time. Just one of my little things about the tournaments that I've noticed.
Especially if
someone
you have
mentioned
to like cube 4 of them or something, right? You have to wait for every single one to load in, right? You know, it takes a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Wolfie says, I saw a full tournament with 17 out of 16 teams. Well, that might be a bug.
Yeah.
That might be a bug. All right, let's go on to the Darren Erstad card, center fielder. I remember watching him play, again, known probably a lot more for his defense. Give us your take on this 66 bronze card.
I do want to note that currently, if the limit category in the card shop is supposed to be counting down, it is not counting down. It's still at 25, and at least 2 have been pulled. So maybe it's bugged. I'm hoping it's bugged and that's what it's intended to do, but maybe not. Maybe I was wrong. Erstad is interesting to me. I think there'll probably be quite a few people who play this card. And one of the important questions in Out of the Park when we get to a new season is how much is defense worth? And where do I play defense if I play defense? This card has some really nice qualities. 90 range is really good. In like Out of the Park 23, it would have been like the best defensive bronze center fielder. We have some guys who are a little silly this year. Fogarty's 108 range. Fielder Davis, I think is his name, is 104.
Is that Fielder Jones?
Fielder Jones, thank you. So not quite the top of the table, but still a very good card. So where does the rest of the card sit, right? The stealing and speed is very good. This is a card I'd be happy to steal bases with. The base running is a respectable number. Remember, when you're looking at speed and stealing, right? Speed is how aggressive they are to steal the base. Stealing is how successful they are to steal the base. Speed is also how often you turn a double into a triple. It's a little weird. Those things are correlated. It's not, again, really, it should be really labeled like base stealing, aggressiveness, and triples. But it's called speed. So that's what we go with. It is not how fast the player is. It does not change their defense at all. And base running is base running, right? You go for the extra base the right amount of times, that kind of a thing. As for Erstad, the issue with the card kind of lies when I look at the bat, right? It's a very empty looking profile. A profile like kind of Snellman alluded to earlier, that would have probably a pretty great batting average in bronze. The problem is batting average tends to be a very poor indicator of a card's actual run production. Because what you can do is this card kind of has the issue in tow where it's not hitting home runs. It's 50 gap is not a ton. It's probably not hitting a lot of doubles. So what it's going to do is it's going to hit a lot of singles. And even though the batting average is probably going to be very high because of the decent BABIP and avoid K compared to the meta, singles are just worth less than doubles and triples. Not really the slugging 1, 2, 3, 4, but more like a WOBA weight, right? So a single generally is like a seventh of a run. A double is like 1.2 runs, right? So it's half a run is still a pretty significant impact on a hit. And then the I is kind of low. I is like the freebie this year. There's a lot of very low rated cards with high I. So a lot of times you can just get it for free. And this card just doesn't have that as well. So.
And let's, you talked about base running and stealing. I noticed a few things in the chat. Speed is for extra bases, and Fofi says he was told base running is how fast the runners run the bases. Again, for the beginners out there, and even us intermediate players, can you kind of go through it again in terms of how you should set maybe that base running, base stealing slider based on these numbers here? What are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Fofi actually has a better description than what I said. I think how fast is a good description. So when a player has good base running, you want to turn up the slider, right? Because you want them to go more often because they're more successful on it. Absolutely. But I don't want to confuse people. Base running does not give you more doubles and triples, right? It is very clearly like you're on second base and a person hits a ball to the outfield and you're round third. Like, how fast are you going to go third to home, right? That's what it is. It's a lot more isolated. It is nothing to do with doubles or triples or anything like that, right? In general, what was true last year, a lot of this was Snailman's work. When you're setting a base running slider, if people see a guy with bad base running, they just turn it all the way down. This kind of has like a really compounding negative effect because even though he's like not a really fast runner, you're probably making him go too less of the time. So I think if in doubt, leave it in the middle. If somebody's really good, you can turn it up a few clicks. Speed to stealing is a little different. Really, most of the time and out of the park, you're looking at the ratio between the two. Obviously, if you're like a 20 speed and a 90 stealing guy, these cards exist. Sometimes they don't pan out as well just because they don't go enough. But stealing and out of the park is really hard to get right. Their weighted stolen base formula is pretty static. In most environments, you literally need to be stealing 78% of the time successfully or higher for it to be worth you stealing at all. So the first thing I do when I'm doing strategy on my team, one of the only things I'm doing right now, because I haven't retested all the sliders, I'm turning stealing all the way down and I'm not touching it. There's like one or two players I'm letting run, if that, on some teams, right? So I think one of the greatest mistakes people make is like, I know there's a very old school philosophy that if you steal like more than 2/3 of the time successfully, it's good. Completely wrong. It needs to be way higher. So, yeah.
Okay. So there you go. There is that in-depth analysis of Mr. Erstad. Next card we had lined up was the Nelson Cruz card, another bronze card, 69. Again, sometimes, bronze tournament, you think, oh, 69, he's one of the better bronze cards. Well, what do you think based on his ratings?
Cruz is a fun one. So we've talked a bit about splits today, but this is going to be our first card that's like very significantly better against one side of pitcher than another. Something a lot of people who are new to Out of the Park, who have just watched real baseball, probably don't it's very rare in real baseball you see what is a platoon, right? And that is when a player only plays against one-handedness of pitcher and then somebody else plays against the other hand at the same position. This is a baseball video game. None of these players have feelings that matter. So, one of the best things you can do when you're making a lineup is do not have bench players unless it's a cap and you can't spend on them. You want every single person on your lineup, like your batters, to be green, which means they're playing one side of the plate or the other side of the plate, right, against a different handedness of pitcher. This Nelson Cruz card, I think, is pretty good against left-handed hitters in a bronze environment. So I think this is a card you could pair him with like a Kirk Gibson, which is like the opposite side, right? He's a left-handed hitting corner outfielder that hits righties. And Nelson Cruz is a right-handed hitting corner outfielder that hits lefties. So you have one person play right field, VR, that would be Gibson, and you have Nelson Cruz play right field VL because he hits lefties better. And that is like the most important thing to learn to do when you're playing out of the park in these non-cap environments is min-maxing every single spot in your lineup as much as possible. So
yeah, definitely great for beginners. Again, that platoon situation where when you get a card, you don't have to. In fact, you shouldn't start them always against lefties and righties. You should build a team where you have platoons at almost every position, correct?
yeah, if you can. I mean, there's exceptions. There are cards that are just better than every other card both ways. It does happen. Or like the min-maxing you get from platooning isn't worth platooning that position. And you can't platoon every position either, and you need to be flexible enough. You can back up every position, right? So there's a few more things into it that you can't just run 18 hitters as much as I would like to. Not in every format, that is, right? So
Okay. Well, let's move on to some silver cards, shall we? And let's take a look at one of the all-time great pitchers, Tom Glavine from the Atlanta Braves from the 95 bracket or 95 season. This was one that you said was kind of an interesting card as well. Again, name brand doesn't always mean success, but there's some interesting things with him, especially with that high home run number there. First of all, before you get into that, the complete analysis, how seriously should people look at the pitches and the numbers on the actual individual pitches?
literally not at all unless you're playing the base game. The reason to play the base game either isn't that they do different things in the base game. It's actually a predictor of how a player will develop. There's a lot of people who do not pick pitchers that have changeups because changeups famously and out of the park do not develop. I think they're looking at the wrong numbers. I had a very enlightening conversation with AZ Axel, one of the developers, the tech support guru, fantastic guy, great player. And he explains that movement and control make up the pitches, and then the pitches make up stuff. It's kind of how the game sorts it out. There's some exceptions. Some pitches are influenced a little bit differently by movement, control, and velocity than others, right? Some pitches have inherent splits, right? But all that's reflected in the top half of the card. The reason I say people who think changeups don't develop are looking at the wrong things is because they're looking at a player that the scout says has a 5 of like 60 grade changeup. And surely he's going to develop it. But if you looked at the movement and control, both of those things are almost fully developed. And a changeup doesn't care about velocity. So what happens is the player is saying, I'm done growing. I'm not going anywhere. And the changeup gets left behind. And I think this happens a lot. And for some reason, people are really fixated on these changeups. In Perfect Team, none of that matters. Don't look at the pitches. They don't do anything. They're reflected in the stuff rating, which is what the pitches really add up to your strikeout rating. You theoretically, if you were like Stephen Hawking or a supercomputer or had access to the out of the park files, could probably have a more accurate version of strikeouts based on pitches and velocity than this stuff rating. But the stuff rating does a really good job, and you should just not look at the pitches. They don't matter. The only exceptions are like a player needs 2 pitches to start, right? Or 3 pitches to start. Knuckleball is an exception. If they have a knuckleball, they can do whatever they want. And the pitches have to be above a certain quality to like qualify as a pitch. So when you're looking at a card in your collection, it'll say on it projected roll. And that roll is really important because if you put somebody that says borderline starter or reliever in your rotation, they're going to do worse. So
Well, that I'm glad I asked that question because I generally didn't look at pitches anyway, but I'm glad you kind of confirmed that they're pretty much useless in terms of the performance that you might expect. All right, the card itself. Exto has kind of asked about the control on this, so give us your take on the Tom Glavine card.
I do want to respond because Alex is in the chat and he says the reason people don't develop changeups is because they're a finesse pitch, and you need a finesse pitching coach to properly develop it like at the same rate. Super cool thing. I wish we got to talk about this kind of stuff. It's so cool. This game is so cool. Alex, I love finesse pitching coaches. Maybe this is why I've never had this problem. That's awesome. But also, I do still think the movement and control are a pretty great indicator of if that changeup has room to develop. Maybe not to the full potential without a finesse pitching coach, but like more so, right? So I think it's a little bit of both ways, but that's a super fun anecdote. I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, going back to the card. Sorry, I'm really excited. Alex is such a cool guy to talk with. The stamina, like we talked about, I think the last pitcher we talked about had like an 80-something stamina. This is a little lower. This is kind of the modern era guys are kind of 70s, 80s. You probably need their pitch count a little lower than what would like be normal in that environment, just how out of the park plays out. I know it's a little weird to pitch count a guy in his own era or whatever, but you should limit him a little bit more because you'll get too tired. The home run on this card is absurd, even both ways. I know 125 is a crazy number VL. 107 is still a great number VR. Kind of the bigger question is I think this card is a little weak VR still because it just doesn't really have any other high-rated stats. But VL, this card is insane. Might be the best silver pitcher VL. If not, it's certainly at the top of the list. So this is probably a guy if you're seeing a lot of silver hitters, you put him in a bullpen. I wouldn't recommend the specialist role. Out of the park is like really super conservative with that, but put him as a middle reliever. Make him have a quick hook or limit him to the 3 minimum batters or put him at a 1 pitch count and the AI will pull him as soon as he's legally able to come out. But it's a fun card. Definitely has some uses for sure.
Yeah, I like this card. I'd be curious to try him out, especially early in the cycle right now where maybe you don't have that, full team of golds and diamonds and perfects. Just try him out at the lower levels, the rookie, the iron, the stone level, and see how he turns out. All right. Next, let's go on to a gold card, and then we'll hit the diamonds and the perfect from this set. And the Tampa Bay Rays, Charlie Morton. Again, a lot different look than the last card that we looked at with the Glavine. This time, much more successful against the right-handed batters. Take us through, Mr. Morton.
So this is a thing you'll typically see with cards, which I'll explain because we get another term I'll probably use a lot in future shows with this. Charlie Morton is a right-handed pitcher that's good against righties. Tom Glavine is a left-handed pitcher that's good against lefties. Some of the earlier examples we saw, like Nelson Cruz, right? He's a right-handed hitter. He's the inverse, of course, because he's a hitter. He's good against lefties, and most left-handed hitters are better against righties. So that's like a normal split. This card has a normal split, right? Where it's a righty better against righties. It's pretty significantly splitty, like 16 points of stuff, 12 points of home run, 10 points of BABIP. And then the control has a 1 point, what we call reverse split. So when a player is better against, as a pitcher, you're better against the opposite hand, or if you're a hitter, you're better against the same hand. That is a reverse split. So some cards, not only is like one rating backwards, like on this Charlie Morton, the whole card is better against the other side. A great example of this is like the gold Joey Batista, right-handed hitter, much better against right-handed pitching. So this is a more of a typical build, right, of a card. Has some very good numbers. The stamina is a little low. So 2 things with low stamina card you have to consider. A very short pitch count. So the reason I keep talking pitch count and not hook, I don't really like the hook system out of the park. I almost always max my hook all the way to the right on my starters, every single one. And then I say, I want you to throw this many pitches every single game. You're most likely going to get much better results out of that because it'll be much more consistent, the wear and tear on your bullpen, right? Much more consistent. Other than the blowout games where the AI will take out your starter way too soon and then let your bullpen go over their pitch count because it's now a blowout and the AI is freaking out in emergency shutdown, save everything mode. And then your bullpen can't pitch for 5 days. But other than that, pitch counts are great. We love pitch counts. They regulate how we can control pitchers. The problem with this card, it's just the low pitcher BABIP, especially in tournaments right now. Pitcher BABIP is pretty impactful. So if I'm comparing this to some similar shape cards, they probably have less control but more pitcher BABIP. So I think this card maybe is good depending on if pitcher BABIP is bugged right now and getting fixed. I don't know. A lot of people think so. We'll just kind of see how it goes on. There's a chance this is a very strong gold card. Maybe not as a starter in some eras, but as a reliever because of the stamina. Either way, it's a pretty well statted card. I wouldn't play it right this second, but maybe down the road, right?
So basically, what we're going to get is this pitcher, from my interpretation, not going to give up a lot of home runs, but is going to give up a lot of singles, maybe doubles, maybe triples. Is that kind of just the basics of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's ways to probably mitigate this too, right? Like you could play low pitcher BABIP pitchers and high defense people in the field. I don't know that relationship yet. That's going to take a lot of data to solve. This is a very noisy equation. I'm not really that big of a math guy. I know I do a lot of math things for everybody, but like this is very much beyond my comprehension. Me relying on a lot of smarter people to help bring what I think I know to you guys. So I think this card probably is going to be good over time, right?
And I don't know if you addressed this in terms of the pitch count. We've got a 69 stamina, and I saw a question there. How would you determine then what the pitch count would be? Do you have a rule of thumb for that?
It is completely dependent on the format, right? So when you're playing tournaments, a lot of these tournaments will say this takes place in the 1970s. Well, guess what? People in the 1970s threw 150 pitches a start where we might not throw 100 per start now, right? So it's very different. You should definitely do it a little bit based on stamina because sometimes you will get burned and a player will not come back to 100 if you mess up. It's a little hard to mess up, but like in general, just take them like counts of 5 or 10 down, just based on like what you think is like the average stamina in the format, how many pitches are supposed to be thrown at that time in baseball history, and just kind of put it down. I mean, trial and error, look at your tournament results and what's going on, right?
So in a modern, because a lot of the tournaments are modern era, maybe what, an 85 pitch count on this guy?
It really depends on the era. I mean, right now in dead ball, you might be able to get 150 pitches out of this card.
No, but in the modern, like in the current.
In the modern era, like if I'm just playing like in league or in like a tournament that's in just 2010 is the modern environment, I would set this card. He's probably an 80. An 80 is about as low as I'll go before I put a card in the bullpen, I think. Okay. Maybe he could be an 85, but I would not go probably higher than that. So.
All right. Well, we do have a couple diamond cards to get to here, Kidneys. And the first one from the Seattle Mariners. And if IBDB is in the chat, that is his go-to team, the Seattle Mariners, Edgar Martinez. Again, a fun card here, especially with that huge amount of eye, especially again against the lefty pitchers. A weird kind of split, better against lefties in some ways, against righties in other ways. This is a fun card. So I'm curious your interpretation of Edgar.
This card is crazy. I really don't know entirely what to say about this card. It's just so unique. I always wanted to showcase it just for that specific caveat. Like, it's just very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a card ever. Well, I guess there's Rennie Stinnett this year is kind of similar. So maybe it's a new thing this year we'll see a lot more of. A card with a 36-point BABIP split is very, like, it's just different, right? And it's very different because, like, the other Edgars, if you look, there's no BABIP split on them. And he was extremely splitty in 2001. But historically, how Adam the Park has created cards has been more of a 3-year span, right? So if a card says 2001, it's also going to include some form of weighting on the stats from 2000 and 2002, right? And so a lot of times when a card says like peak cards were a real big deal in previous years. Somebody be like, oh, the peak on the card is this year. And he had a better year this year, but it was never about the individual year. It was about the year above and below almost as much as the year in the middle, right? The card was labeled. So this to me says maybe we're moving in a very different direction where we're going to get much more single season based statistical cards, which will lead to a lot of very interesting profiles like this card, right? Where they're very different. They're kind of wild almost in a way. I'm going to go out on a limb based on, I have a very, very basic rudimentary hitting evaluator right now. It's not really a fan. But I do think this card is just so interesting because it says a lot probably about the direction we're moving a little bit with content creation. Kind of the issue is like the Avoid K and the BABIP are split up. I think if the Avoid K and the BABIP, the 85-86, were on one side and the 50 and 59 were on another side, this card is really good against one side of the plate. It's not. If you move the Avoid K over to the VR side, maybe the eye flipped as well. I don't know. It's just such an interesting puzzle to put together. I mean, look at the batting average indicator, right? It has it as a 67 VL and a 91 VR. Like, just a completely different sum of things, you know? But I think this card is probably better VR, but I don't think it's quite good enough to compete with some of the first base is a very strong position right now. So
yeah, this is, and like you said, new content creator Paul Sporer coming on board. And what I noticed with the releases today is so many of the cards are splitty, and we're seeing some weird things amongst the different ratings here that maybe we haven't seen a lot of before. And it's just, again, going to add, just like the new ballparks, going to add a whole new dynamic in building your team, which I think is great. I think it's really good to have a variety of builds rather than your standard meta build that everyone eventually ends up at. We're going to see a lot of different creations here, aren't we, kidneys?
we are. So, like, for example, I think a really cool, interesting thing is like this card is like a more exaggerated version, however, completely wild splits than the 86 gold Edgar, right? And I don't have the 86 gold Edgar being like this fantastic gold card or anything, but they're almost kind of comparable in the point where, like, that's sort of the muted middle ground of this card. I almost think I would want the gold Edgar over this card, but I really don't know. It's just such an interesting thing. I don't have that level of analysis set up yet. It is a very interesting card to me. I'm very excited if this is sort of the direction we're going. So,
okay, well, we got one more diamond, and then we have the topper card to go through, and then Kidneys is going to take us through his TWIPT draft, and I'm really looking forward to that. I want to see Kidneys and his analysis of how he drafts his TWIP team, which again, tomorrow night, it's full already. It fills up fairly quickly. Tomorrow night, Dishnet will be on around, 8, 9 o'clock Eastern time to present to you the first version of OOTP 24 TWIP, the showdown. One team, one winner takes it all, single elimination up until the final. Really exciting. So check Dishnet tomorrow for that first tourney. So I'm looking forward to see the strategy behind Kidney's choices here. All right, last diamond card today, Alex Bregman from the Houston Astros, Wildcat Bandits team. and a little bit interesting card as well. We see some similar things with the last card we looked at, just kind of the opposite side of the things. What do you think about Bregman?
My very, again, rudimentary hitting evaluation thing quite likes this card. It's not like, the best hitter in Diamond or anything near that, right? It's not Rudy York. However, I think this is a really good third base option. I do think it's probably by far the best Diamond third base option. With perfects, it's probably pretty close, if not better than a lot of them. I do have Ned Williamson being kind of a little bit better than some of the other perfects. Most of this is more geared towards tournaments right now. League play always plays very different than tournaments, but I think in a tournament setting, if I can get my hands on this card, I would probably play him at quite a bit of teams. Sort of the caveat there is the gold Mike Schmidt is such an insanely powerful card. Like, I guess you can play gold Mike Schmidt at shortstop. Maybe I'll play both those cards then. I think I might actually play both those cards. It's a very strong card. He's a lot better hitter VL. As you can kind of see, right? Like, this is a card that, even though the eye is reverse split, right? Like, he's got higher BABIP, higher power. Power is really the big indicator right now for me, where a card's probably going to end up playing. Defense is going to be below a lot of probably the end game or high level meta third base options. I just think the bat is pretty great. I really do. I'm a fan of this card. Again, I don't think it's like a crazy must have or anything, but it's just a solid option to have. I think this is a really good 98.
All right. Yeah. I think this is a really good third baseman option too. I mean, here's a case where a 98 diamond card is likely going to play like a 98 diamond card should be, at least for this part of the cycle. Before we get on to our topper here, big shout out, big thank you to all of you that are watching, close to 200 of you on stream, getting a lot of good advice from Your Kidneys, especially again for those new players and even for the intermediate, and hopefully some nuggets of information for the experts out there as well. We've got over 90 people from the good old USA, Canadians. We've got Australians, a couple from the UK, one from Spain. We have one from the Netherlands, and even one from Japan. So konnichiwa to the one viewer from Japan tuning in. And it's always cool to see that this is such a global game, isn't it, Kidneys?
It's really quite amazing, especially when you consider, like, most of the world just considers like baseball on a really kind of American area thing, with like Japan and Korea as being like the other prominent places, right? But one of my best friends who plays this game is from Germany, been in Germany his whole life, right? And he loves this game. He's one of the best players in the game. And it's just so cool. Like, another friend of mine is, from the UK, right? And watched baseball at a bar in Colorado and is a Rockies fan now, right? And so it's really fun getting to meet people from all walks of life in the world while playing baseball. It's great. I love it.
And we do have one viewer from Germany, so maybe it is your friend, or maybe it's Marcus tuning in. If so, hey, how's it going there, Marcus? Thanks for tuning in to...
By the way, if any of the animations in this game look funny, most of them were Marcus in mocap. He announced this in the Scott Braun interview. So if anything looks weird, directly blame Marcus. Apparently, Marcus played baseball in a German baseball league as a shortstop and a pitcher. I could not find stats on it. I would love to know how Marcus did. I'm assuming he was good if he was a shortstop. But yeah, I mean, directly, if those running animations look off, know that was Marcus in a mocap suit. It's very important you distinguish that.
Yeah. As Gabagoo Luigi says, Marcus card win. Yeah, maybe in some iteration of the game, maybe we'll get some of those kind of meme cards in the game. And, Marcus shortstop, I don't know. Maybe we'll give him a 41 iron card. We don't want to put him at 40. And again, welcome everyone to the chat.
A cap, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I want to shout out Dr. Dynastic. Dr. Dynastic is one of the newest streamers of OOTP, one of the newest affiliates. So catch him. I believe he's going to be on tomorrow in the early afternoon. So check him out. Big Seattle and Oakland kind of fan, and a wonderful broadcaster from what I've seen so far. So check out Dr. Dynastic tomorrow for his, I think, third stream of OOTP. All right.
I was watching his stream when they announced he was a new affiliate. It was an awesome time. Really enjoyed that. So definitely go check him out.
Really good to add to the affiliate family. Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mookie Betts, one of the more popular players today in baseball, and definitely a Red Sox favorite while he was in Boston. And I never did ask you, are you a Red Sox fan?
So I am officially one town over in Yankee territory. However, when I was a kid, my parents are both Mets fans. I'm a little farther over from New Haven, closer to New York. But when my parents were Mets fans, right? And the Mets just hadn't been good in so long. This was 2003. And the Red Sox and the Yankees were playing a game, right? And they said, "Oh, you're gonna have to pick one of them," because I quite liked baseball, right? And I ended up picking the red team because I thought the pinstripes looked lame, and everybody kind of laughed because the Red Sox hadn't won anything in 100 years. And they posted the score. I still remember coming downstairs from my room, and at the top of the stairs was the score. The game was like 17-6. Red Sox got rated, right? I, being a very stubborn child, said, I'm not switching. I'm going to be a Red Sox fan. And everybody made fun of me. And then the next year, 2004, baby, let's go. So all I'm saying is, if you're a Red Sox fan, you can credit 5-year-old me with breaking the curse. It was personally my responsibility.
I thought Yukaren Kazami was the reason, because she became a Red Sox fan, around that time as well. So are you taking some of her thunder away from her?
Oh, I'm absolutely taking her thunder. And she's a far bigger Red Sox fan than I am. She frequently calls me a fake one because I don't really watch any of the games anymore. Yuka's a great friend of mine. But yeah.
Okay, Mookie.
I love this. This is really bittersweet for me. I'm one of the people who is never going to forgive them for trading Mookie for what we got. And I love Verdugo. Verdugo's a super fun guy, but man, Mookie is generational. This card is really cool. I think looking at it, there's a lot of really strong points. Strong points being center field right now is a really weak position in league. Before this card came out, I would say Mike Trout is arguably the best center fielder. If you like defense a little more, probably Hidalgo would be your guy. This card certainly contests both those cards. One of the things to notice with this card is pretty splitty, right? So it's got a 22-point eye gap and a 22-point power gap, right? So it is much more suited to hitting lefties. That said, this stage of the game, it's still pretty good versus righties. Certainly a card that is going to be a platoon as the game goes on, right? It's not a card that's going to play both ways forever. But right now, certainly one of the best cards you can get. I wish it said second base on it because it's fun. I know he probably didn't play second base in 2018, but it is fun. Mookie might play there this year quite a bit with the Gavin Lux injury. I know there was some talk of that again. EVC probably knows better than I do. But this is certainly one of, if not the best VL bat in the game, tied to a card with very good defense and a respectable VR bat. So it's a good card.
All right. So there you have it. Those were some of the highlighted cards that Kidneys and I wanted to touch on in the first set release of OOTP 24. Remember, if you missed it this morning, you can tune in tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern and watch the rebroadcast. You should be able to get your drops if you missed it this morning from the official development team. And once again, you can check out DishNet 9 p.m. Eastern for that. All right, we have a couple more fun segments coming up here, guys, but we do have our last ad break here. So go grab a beverage. Oh, I'm so looking forward to the last segment. I think you will too. So we'll see you in about 3 minutes. Kidneys, you can get your screen set up here while we're on break. We'll see you guys after this break. All right, we are back for our last segment here with the one, the only, Your Kidneys. Thanks again for everyone who have followed today, all of you that have left messages in the chat, asked questions. We will have another question period towards the end here. And again, from all over the world, people watching the stream today, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Laptop Hound with Your Kidneys, and we're going to do something a little bit different right now. I'm not sure if Kidneys has ever done this before on stream where he's gone through a draft, but he is going to go through his This Week in Perfect Team Showdown team and see and analyze the cards a little bit and explain why he's picking the cards that he does. I'll let you take it from here, Kidneys.
All right, so I'm going to clarify. I'm not really great at perfect drafts, but I do know my cards pretty well already. So what you may see may not be the best perfect draftable team, but it'll probably be a pretty good set of cards. So first thing you're going to want to look at is the era. 95 isn't anything crazy, so nothing like I need. Like in older eras, sometimes you only need 3 or 4 starting, or never 4, but you need like 3 or 2 starting pitchers. So I don't need to worry about that. Pitch counts aren't really going to be different. I probably will put a little more prioritization on power because it's the 90s, even though like I would probably do that anyway right now. So, all right, let's get into it. All right, so 2 cards. It's a double. Probably should have checked that before I went in. There's 2 very obvious options to me standing out. This card right now is one of the best starting pitchers in the game. There's a lot of strategy with perfect drafts about when to pick your starting pitchers. I don't really know any of it, so I'm just gonna. This is a really good card, and this is actually one of the best center fielders you can get in the game right now. Y'all in chat are memeing, telling me to pick the relief pitcher. You do not want to pick a relief pitcher early unless you have to. This card is not a great hitter. The Goose is okay VR, pretty weak VL. In perfect drafts, you don't really have the luxury of platooning cards like you would in previous things. Too low. Unless a shortstop, like a middle infielder, is the best in the game or really strong, I'm not going to pick him. You can get the good defense later in the draft, so we're going to take Tannehill and Trout here. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. This is a pretty interesting round. None of these immediately wow me. 2 of these, this is a reliever, right? Yeah, 2 of these are relievers. So we're probably not looking at these. We're going to look at Marte, Sergeant Mushroom's favorite player. He plays 3 positions. Probably don't really want him at any of them. How's the bat? It's okay either way. He's a switch hitter, which is nice. That means against pitchers, most of the time he'll be strong-sided. This Carlos Gonzalez is a really good VR bat. Just generally because of history in real life, more baseball pitchers are righties than lefties. So I think I'll take Cargo. Unless this live Nola is crazy, he's not really, or Jose is crazy. I'm kind of pigeonholed into taking this Marte. Maybe he'll end up at second base. Maybe he's a designated hitter. Wouldn't be a great one, but we're gonna take these 2. It's kind of really the only options this round. This is a very interesting round because I need to take this card because it's a meme. More seriously, this card's rather fascinating. He has no power this year. He's had like 70 something power in previous years. I know Spore talked about not giving dead ball guys as much power. I don't know. This to me just feels like a little low. I know Ned Williamson is really high, which Snailman explained to me was they changed the rules in the ballpark one year. And so if you go look up the 1884 Cubs or whatever they were called back then, if he's still in the chat, he could explain it better than I did. They hit like 3 times the home runs of anybody else in the league. And that's why there's like these few dead ball guys that always have a lot of power. Yeah, look at the quads on Strider. I know they're great. Posey is a glove that's great. He doesn't really have a bat. I may still take him. He's a pretty solid catcher. There's David Cone is kind of the shape I like right now. I'm probably going to pick him. Hamley's really fun. If I didn't already get stuck with Marte, and maybe I would pick this card as a DH. I think he can also train at first base in League. I think I'm going to pick Cone and Posey. Again, just not having like the ability to hit a home run ever is pretty bad for a card. Oh, I won a daily tournament. That's cool. I get a diamond pack. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I got eliminated from 2 other tournaments as the stream was going on. That's quite funny. Looking at gold cards, I've been playing a lot of gold and gold cap. Immediately, this card sticks out to me. It's a shortstop with good defense. There isn't any of like the real big names here. This Tanaka's an okay pitcher. We may go with him. Christ is really good. He just is kind of a reliever. 38 stamina is certainly too low for me to start. There's Meme Lord's boy, Sean Murphy. I just took Posey. If I didn't, I would probably consider this card. It's not a terrible card. We're kind of stuck with a second baseman. Not that Kinsler's too good of one. How's Lave's catching this year? It's actually pretty good for him. But it's not really the profile I want. Again, low power, low I. We're in the 90s, and just in general, it's really good. So I think I'm going to take this Tanaka as my pitcher number 4. Edwin, a lot of positions. Players with a lot of positions are really good, just probably not in my gold round, right? I'm a little sad I took Posey because this Jim Sundberg is basically the same card, and I could have gotten him around later, but it's okay. This card is... This is a very low number that terrifies me, so we're not going to take him. George Winter is pretty well-rounded. Again, a little low on the home run, but he's fine. Cy Seymour doesn't play left field. I was hoping he did, so we can't take him. We already have a center fielder in Mike Trout. This is probably going to be our second baseman. So this round's looking a little rough. Jakey May is... Oh, I'm thinking of... There's 2 Jakey Mays. I was thinking of the diamond one. This one is a lot weaker than that one. So I definitely am taking Winter. Is it like one of the relievers? Oh, this card is mislabeled. So if you notice here, it's a closer. But because this says starter, it should be a starting pitcher. Sometimes this just happens. A lot of times it happens with a new game. This card is very much a starting pitcher. He'll actually pitch better in the bullpen because this says starter. None of this matters. This is what matters, right? Right there. So I think I may even take him. He can pitch a lot of innings out of the bullpen. He's going to get the stuff boost. Let's make sure this JJ card isn't really crazy. It's not. All right, we're going to take the Hoyt Wilhelm here, I think. Oh, we got our first bunt card. Everybody tilt your head to the left. Now I can't read any of the ratings, so I'm going to turn it back. This card is fine. I may draft this card here. Oh, we got one of my favorite gold cards. I'm very glad we did. We got Jose Bautista. Really fun card. A righty that kills righties. You can play right field and third base, right? Yep, Snailman in the chat. If y'all were interested in the dead ball home run story, really cool thing. It's why Pfeffer and Williamson and a few other guys have massive power numbers in Out of the Park, because they changed the rules. This Ted Williams is an awesome DH. I think we're taking him as a DH, which means Marte is definitely a second baseman. This Jose Bautista. Oh, Cargo can play left field. So we're still flexible. This can be third base or right field. It's nice to be flexible. Oh, I did not see the card in the top right. Yeah. Thank you, Meme Lord, for pointing it out. Even this Jeff Bagwell is a really respectable first baseman. This round is really hard. I wish it had been spread out a bit more. I think in general, there's definitely better first basemen at lower levels, or just as good ones. I'm going to take the Schmidt. He's one of the best cards in the game right now. I can't not take him. So do I want Bautista or Ted? I think in general, Ted is probably roughly the better card, but it's a lot easier to fill DH. It even lets me pick a second baseman. So I'm going to take Jose Bautista here. I think that's the correct play, is to pick it like this. Morton for science. No, please. Yes, the count of positions is great. I wish it counted the opposite direction. Like, you get 10 of a position, but like if I'm a new player, I would rather it count down to 0. Like, you know, how many I have left. I think that might be a little bit of a quality of life change that helps them a little bit. I remember the Sixto card being good. It's good VL. It's not good VR. We need cards that are either good VR or like kind of balanced. That is the opposite of everything I want right now. Most cards not terrible. This looks like a really weak round here. This card, not it. Yount is good defensively, but he sadly doesn't have any of the outfield which he played during his career. Would really like him if he did. Slim Love, shout out to one of the greatest bronze pitchers last year. I could certainly pick Slim Love. This number being that low scares me, the pitcher BABIP. And he can't really start. How's Chappie? I might take Chappie just in case we don't get a better starter later. I think I'm certainly going to do that, actually. So then it's like, do I want any of these live? Sometimes live players are good. This is worth checking. I don't know all the live players yet. I don't think either of these are ones we want here. So what am I going to pick? Is it like Brian Hayes? No, I have Mike Schmidt. So I think we are going to pick this Norm Seaburn. I don't have any first baseman. And worst is he's a bench bat. Oh, this is a much better round right away. 3 cards I really want. I can only pick 2 of them. Have to pick Bob Ferguson. If you haven't seen this card, plays second and short. Amazing defense. Again, not the shape we're looking for here, but, he's a bat that will still do a little bit. So now the questions are, I'm going to pick this one because I want to push Chappie into my bullpen. There's a really good starting pitcher. This is like one of the best silver pitchers, but again, he can't really start. The stamina number is too low. Yes, Bob Ferguson's nickname is Death to Flying Things, which is just a fantastic nickname. So we're going to pick these 2 cards here for sure. I think I'm going to move Ferguson to second base. I'm going to list Marte as my DH. Just lets me keep track of things a bit better. Technically, my lineup is filled. And then Chappie needs to say reliever. It's just, again, going to help me keep track of what's going on my team. Not any silvers here that I know immediately, which sometimes is a scary sign. But this Bill Donovan looks like an excellent card. So that's a win. Hoskins is actually not bad. He's not like, probably like an open silver player, but for a live, he's good. This card's okay. We're just going to go down the list here, I think. That's not a bad card. These are some pretty good cards here. This one is not. Very vulnerable to righties. This is an interesting card. Not bad defense. All 3 outfield positions. Will not really hit. Not this one. I don't like this one either. Colton Wong. This defense is really bad for Colton Wong. He's like normally one of the best defensive players in the league. Maybe he had a bad year last year. Joe Kelly is always splitty. Sometimes in a good way. This card is actually a pretty nice card on Joe Kelly. What's this tournament? Larry Sheets. Not picking that. Johnny Peralta. No. All right. So, like Kelly. I pick Kelly with Donovan, or would I rather get Angel Pagan for some utility in the outfield? I'm going to look at the players I've seen. I'm still going to have like 11 outfielders in this draft. I have seen almost no catchers, which is really interesting. So I think I'm going to pick Joe Kelly here. I'm liking the Joe Kelly. Hey, it's the guy who replaced Christian Posh. Nice. This Josh Donaldson is a respectable backup third baseman, but he does only play third base. This round is rather rough. I'm seeing 2 catchers here, but I have a lot left. I'm probably just going to pick pitching. If you get a really bad round in the late rounds, try and fill out your bullpen without being too full. It is a double perfect, which I think means I get less cards in the iron round, right? Was it also it was a double perfects or double diamonds? Yeah. So I only get 2 irons. Soto's okay. How's Edwards? So crazy. Edwards is such a. If you ever watched this guy when he first started pitching, he could not hit the strike zone to save his life. He turned it around. Like, he came back after taking a few years off, and he turned it completely around. It's a really cool story. I don't really like Ober. We're great on time here. Steve O'Neill? That's a great bat. Maybe I just take Steve O'Neill. I wish he played another position, though. But this round is looking real rough here. Austin only plays center. Oh, man. No, there's no way it's this card. He can't play a defense. So I think I like Soto and O'Neill the best. We're just going to check these other cards real quick. I don't think the Don Money is as good as last year. It really doesn't do too much. So we're going to try these 2. Was he participating in NASCAR? Was he a driver, or like did he work on cars, or what did he do? Poor dog. That's really fascinating. This Roy Columbine card is silly. Probably going to be our actual first baseman at this point. Jody Reed's just good utility. I'm trying to think if I need him or if I need something else here more. Don't have a middle infielder. Any of these other cards really good? Oh, Drew Waters. Does not have great defense. Chat, have y'all seen this card? I have not seen this card before. This is certainly one of the cards of all time. Oh, of course, yes, there's a NASCAR driver, Carl Edwards. That's funny. I used to watch NASCAR a lot as a kid. It's definitely kind of a empty brain moment to miss that. I don't really like any of these other options at all. This isn't a bad fielder, but I'd rather not have Jody Reed and gain a backup third baseman. I have Batista, and Marte doesn't play third base, but Marte plays second and short. I mean, I'm not drafting 2 first basemen. Carl Taylor's not that great this year. I'm going to go with these 2, I think, still. Now, time is totally fine. I got 2 rounds, 4 cards left. Denny Hawking's a no-brainer. If you haven't seen this card, he has an iron card, too. It does everything. Not great, though this one has much better outfield defense, but it just does everything. It's an awesome card. Oh, we got the Nelson Cruz. Everyone tilt your head to the left. Let's take a look at the Nelson Cruz. It's a good card, especially when all the VL ratings are on top of the VR ratings, right? It's very nice. But this Marshall Bridges is a great card. I have not been paying attention to my number of pitchers. I think I'm going to take Marshall Bridges over Cruz here. Sorry, chat. But that means I only have to take 1 pitcher next round instead of having to take 2 pitchers, which I rather like because there's some very strong iron cards everywhere right now. None of the immediate iron cards I know come to mind. Charlie Dexter sometimes plays everywhere. We're probably taking the Charlie Dexter. I think we have a lot of flexibility already. Hack isn't as good of a bat as previous seasons. Not that card. All right. Well, I'm glad I took the pitcher. The Dylan Floro looks pretty good. So does Marte. Marte is splitty, but okay. Not that card. Elvis is splitty. I'm going to take Floro and Dexter, unless Billy Ripken's funny. I know this is a shout out to the Billy Ripken misprint card, which is quite fun. I think that's it. That should give me my standard 12 pitchers in modern environment, bunch of hitters, all that good stuff. My draft, Mr. Laptop Hound, sir.
Well, there you go. And we won't go through all the settings and things like that. And what is the team name? I can't quite see it there.
That is the Dab City Yeet, and then my personal little group of friends, FFS.
All right. Well,
Dab
we
City
will.
Yeet, because when I first started playing this game, I forget what my original team name was. I had something very different. And I quickly found out I was basically the youngest person playing this game, and I wanted to make everybody else feel old. So I came up with the Dab City Yeet. The avatar, which I haven't uploaded yet, is the Roblox guy dabbing. It's great.
So we'll look out for that Friday night during DishNet's presentation of the first showdown of OOTP 24. Well, and we're not going to do that every week, but I wanted everyone to at least get one opportunity of, going through the mind of your kidney, the Zoomer, and how he would go ahead and draft his perfect team. So curious to see how that does. As he said, he's not, perfect team drafts are not kind of his key area that he focuses on. He focuses on a lot of other things, but still, especially again for beginners, you get to kind of see the process of going through one of these drafts. So get involved. They're free. It doesn't cost you anything. You can join 2 perfect drafts, 3 if you're a plus member, and you can join the traditional drafts, but you have to have the cards to join those traditional. So if you join a gold traditional tournament, you're not going to win likely with a bunch of bronze and iron cards. But hey, who knows with the development engine. So thanks, Kidneys, for going through that draft with us.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, it's fun. I really do enjoy perfect drafting just because there's a lot of thought process. A lot better having the number of cards you're about to get on the screen while you're drafting. Otherwise, I know most people, some people didn't even know there were numbers. It was 10 position players in a normal draft, right, per position. And then the people who would just write down stuff on a piece of paper would get a major advantage, just from counting catchers was really the main one you have to do. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I definitely think it's better this year. I hope they expand it more in the future. I think it's a really interesting, really accessible format for everybody, right?
Right. And OOTP, if you're watching, please don't embarrass us by having Kidneys lose in the first round. Let's at least get him.
It's
Let's at least get him to the second round. I'm kidding.
No.
So many of us, think we draft great teams in these perfect drafts, and we've got all the best players. I know last year, having all the meta cards, and you still lose out in 4 games. It just happens. So yeah. Thanks again for doing that. All right, guys. Well, we got a couple more things to do, and this next segment, oh boy, am I looking forward to this, because it would not be a stream with Kidneys on without a Kidneys rant. Yes, would not be a stream, because Kidneys, I have to give him a lot of credit, coming on my stream, and I've got certain, criteria in how I like my stream to go, and he's been a wonderful, wonderful co-host for this week analyzing the cards. I want to thank him so much, but I got to let him release some hot air. I got to let Kidneys be Kidneys for a couple minutes. But hey, we are going to time him, because you all know Kidneys could go on forever and ever and ever. So Kidneys, you've got 2 minutes. What is your rant for this week?
I had a lot of trouble coming up with one. I think I'm going to do something rather simple that's applicable. Oh, we're starting the timer. We're going. All right. Stolen bases. We're just going to talk about stolen bases. It's a really simple one. I've talked about it a lot before, but you'd be new to the Art of the Park. You'd be new to Perfect Team. Stop stealing bases. Stop it. It's bad. All right. The very first thing I did this year when I entered a tournament is I went to my slider screen and I turned the stolen base slider all the way to the left. Why? Because you are throwing away runs. On average, in Perfect League, right? The 40 best players every given week, they were bad base stealers. On average, almost every single team in Perfect in the last month of this year was stealing too much, because unless you're getting guys who are stealing at 78%, like 76, 78% plus, you are throwing away runs. It's really simple. You can run the math. There's a lot of stuff I really enjoy. A chat is going great right now. I love it. But you can do some very basic math on the run environment, facing some things that a guy called Tom Tango. You probably don't know who Tom Tango is, but I'm sure if you're a baseball fan, you know what FIP and WOBA are. Yeah, he made those, along with a whole bunch of other super baseball things. Use Baseball Savant. That's Tom Tango. Anyway, Tom Tango is great. One of the things he's going to talk about, we're probably going to talk a lot about Tom Tango subjects in these rates, is you need to attach run values to outcomes. The problem is the run value for getting caught stealing is far higher than this old, kind of old wives' tale of like, you need to steal 2/3 or higher to be successful. Completely false. If your player is not stealing 78% clip, doesn't work. For people talking about the stolen base changes,
All right. Well, where did kidneys go? The timer has expired. Welcome back in there, kidneys. As I told kidneys before, when that timer hits 0, I'm stopping you. I have the power.
Stage. It's how it's gonna happen. I have a lot of topics. I'll do a little bit more on it next week. I think I already very much know what I want to talk about next week, because it's a concept that for a lot of people who've been baseball fans for a long time is very hard for them to grasp. So don't miss it next week. I think it's a really important one.
Yes, and maybe if you need another minute, we'll give you a 3-minute rant. We'll see. It looked like you could go for another minute.
Oh, I could go for a lot more than another minute. So.
Well, I want to give a big round of applause to Kidneys for coming on the stream today. What a great, mind for analysis, and something that I've always looked through with a cheat, and either DMing him or going in his Discord and asking questions there. Thank you so much for part of the Hawk co-hosting for this week, Kidneys.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm very excited to do more of this. Few notes. If you don't know who I am, I'm the spreadsheet guy. I don't stream super consistently. I have no schedule or anything. If you need me, I'm on Discord. If you're in and out of the park Discord, I'm probably in it. Always feel free to message me if you want access to my Discord. We talk a lot of things about the game there. I'll give it to you too. This game is great. The best part about this game is in my opinion, is coming together, understanding the game, learning more about it, learning more about baseball, having fun playing it. I think by freely giving out the information about how the game works and explaining it and helping people understand it, that's what I love to do. It's really fun to me. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, we'll be back next week, I think, doing this again. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much yourself for putting this on. This is great. Reining me in is great. Getting me to do prep work is very hard. So everyone, shout out to Laptop Hound too. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, it is. You can't take the teacher out of me, Kidneys, and I like to give homework once in a while.
Yeah. I was homeschooled. All my work was homework. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I won't keep you around for my last little part here where I'm going to do the giveaway. I'll let you go and, do what you need to do today. I kept you long enough here. So thanks again, Kidney, for being part of the stream today.
Anytime. I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Yes. And speaking of schedules and next week, I am back on Monday for my kind of regular routine, Monday and Tuesday, and something coming very soon to my channel with OOTP 24, I like to call Babe in the Matrix. And no, this has nothing to do with your kidneys. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Babe Ruth in the Matrix. New feature, new segment that I'm going to feature using OOTP. So I really look forward to that. But guys, it is that time. It is time to give away a few packs. We are going to give away 2 sets of packs, one 10-pack for the first name that I draw, and 5 packs for the second name that I draw. I think we're going to have to try this one more time. So we'll give it 2 minutes and 30 seconds because that didn't look right. And I don't want some of you guys to be left out of the entry. All right, so one more time. Let's try. I don't know. Steam Elements usually works pretty good. One more time. Enter, exclamation ticket. See if those numbers go up. All right, seems to be working okay now. We're seeing the numbers. Yep, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, yeah, here we go. So if you've already done this before, please do it again because you may not have got entered. I did cancel that last entry. This one seems to be working a little bit better. Exclamation enter, exclamation ticket. Yes, now we're back on track. We will give it 1 more minute. If you left your computer, come on back, re-enter. I canceled that other one because it wasn't taking the entries. This one is exclamation ticket, exclamation enter. Get in on the free packs. We've got MK Sen, we've got Geoman, we've got 39 Cobra, Fanatic, J Clay. And while that's going on, I want to go through and shout out those of you that have followed today. Thank you so much for following. Bunch of names to list off here. Let's start with Mike ABC, thank you. OPT Meme Lord, saw you in the chat quite a bit. Wino 888, King Julian _ 81. We've got Concussion Protocol. Also, Port Dog. We've got Order Lane Mendeloina. We'll call you A for short. McNoosh. Big competitive manager. Have come across McNoosh many times in league play. Well, that's just peachy. That's how I explained the last couple attempts at these contests. Well, that's just peachy. Benny LaRue and Jerry Westside. Oof, thank you for the follow. Po1 Y Carp. Bow 5. We've got Reggie Baby. We've got Raw Dog 10, Dr. Beer PhD 10, a doctor who likes beer with a PhD. Duke Strawn 111, J Clay, Mexameister, XJ Man 329, Serbo 311, Raw Mist 19, Gimme Anna, Jeff 19, and Beetle Boy 911. Whew. I can take a breath. All right, we've got 39 entries. You've got 10 seconds left. Exclamation enter, exclamation ticket to get in on the draw. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Giveaway is closed. The giveaway is closed. Sorry if you missed out on that. Here we go. Our first winner. Make sure I get your perfect team username before you leave. Whisper it to me or put it in the chat. Wherever you want those 10 or 5 packs to go, I need your perfect team username. Winner number 1 of 10 standard packs goes to MK Sen. MK Sen, you know what to do. Let me know your username. Congrats, MK Sen. I think I saw you in the chat a little bit earlier. If not, then what you need to do is either put your team name, your username, not your team name, your username, or click on my name there in the chat and click the little whisper button and you can send me a private. Well, there we go. MK Sen 1. Congrats. Winner number 2 of 5 OOTP 24 standard packs is Ted McGinn 65. Ted McGinn 65, you are the winner of 5 standard packs. Again, same thing. Put your username in or whisper me your username. Big congratulations to our big winners today. Again, more packs to give out on Tuesday or Monday of next week. And also EVC on his stream tomorrow will be announcing the winner of his contest, which was Guess the Content. So as I always do, I leave off with a huge thank you. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for being here today. And thank you to your kidneys for being part of the stream. Again, be kind to yourself and others around you. Some people are going through some really tough stretches of life right now. So be kind to others and, of course, to yourself. And it is a great day for baseball. Great day for baseball. My Blue Jays against the Cardinals. Your team against some other team playing at some point today. And thanks for the updates from Mr. Ree, who mentioned that, yeah, he gave us some stats. It's probably way up there in the chat already, but we do have some games currently going on right now. This has been episode number 1 of the Hawk Report. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope to see you on Monday. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. Catch Dish tonight if you missed your drops earlier today. We'll see you next episode.